Welcome to our series of conversations with city and community leaders. Today, I am thrilled to have Jennifer Fitzgerald, the Mayor of Fullerton, as my guest today. Mayor Fitzgerald was elected to Fullerton City Council in November of 2012 and served as Mayor Pro Tem in 2014-15, Mayor in 2015-16, and then again this year. In her first 3 years of office, Mayor Fitzgerald played a key role in several significant accomplishments, including a $3.5 million retroactive refund of water rate overcharges, public safety reform, a substantive increase in the funding for repairs on the city's aging roads, and the adoption of new transportation measures for public employee labor negotiations. Mayor Fitzgerald represents the City of Fullerton on the Board of Directors for the Association of California Cities Orange County Chapter, and is a member of the Board of Directors for Orange County Taxpayers Association. She is a former Metropolitan Water District Director, past President and Chair of our organization, the North Orange County Chamber, formerly the Fullerton Chamber of Commerce, where she served in 2008-09. She is also a former planning commissioner. She volunteers with her boys in community and educational activity and is founder of the Give Backpacks Fullerton, is the chair of the annual Women's Leadership Forum, is a member of the Fullerton Arboretum. The list goes on and on. Mayor Fitzgerald works as a public relations and public affairs consultant in Fullerton, and as I mentioned, she has some wonderful boys who just are adorable. So that's my personal note on her. I'll keep the rest pretty professional. But anyway, as we go through today, please put your questions in the Q&A, because I know that you'll have questions we want to have answered. But right now, I just want to get on with the show and welcome Jennifer.
Thanks very much, Teresa. It's great to be with you. I want to thank you and your chamber members for having me as your guest. I think the most important thing for this group in that bio that you read is my involvement with the chamber. I'm a big believer in the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank all the business owners and employees who are on this call, who are, especially this year, giving 110% to make sure that not only does your business survive, but that it thrives. And I just want you to know that I get it. And I have done and will continue to do everything I can from the City Council to support our local business community. So it's great to be here today.
Great. That's a perfect segue, actually. I know that the city has gone to great lengths to invest more in economic development. Tell us some of the things that it really undertook leading into, and then now as we continue through the pandemic and the impacts on small businesses.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that opportunity. And I will just say, as soon as the city realized that businesses were going to have to shut down and restaurants were going to have to close back in March, we were the first city in Orange County that passed ordinances and resolutions to allow restaurants to use public right-of-way to operate outdoor dining. We assembled a business development team under the able hands of our Deputy Economic and Community Development Director, Kelly Fritzall, to go out and assist businesses, and they're pounding the pavement, even to this day, trying to visit every business in Fullerton to see how we can help. We started a business assistance program, loan program with SBDC in partnership, of course, with the Chamber of Commerce. We have continued to make hours of operations adjustments. We have tried to help businesses navigate the very confusing direction and sometimes conflicting direction that comes from the state government and the county government And we've really tried to be a good conduit of information back and forth between governments at higher levels who have more authority in this pandemic than we do, and our local business community. And those are just a few of the things that we've been able to do.
Right. And I know the other thing that continues to reoccur, or that I continue to see on the council agendas, is rental assistance programs, tenants, forgiveness of not forgiveness, but deferrals of rent. And so we've really, I think as a community, thank you for all the work that you are doing there. I know that some of the economic development programs that we did, such as the closing of Wilshire Boulevard and the public dining rights and access, normally have fees attached to them, but the city waived those fees to allow the city, the citizens, the businesses to survive and to move forward on otherwise very difficult conditions. And I commend you for taking that strong lead. I just don't know how we would have done it without that.
Well, it's so hard. It's so hard in this kind of situation for the city to stand by and watch our residents and our businesses suffer. So yeah, we've tried to be as creative as we can. I appreciate, your kudos for that. There are very few things during this pandemic that I hope stick around, but one of them is Walk on Wilshire. I hope that our outdoor dining piazzas that have popped up and the Walk on Wilshire are things that will stay. If you like them, I hope you'll make sure that the city council knows how great it is for our sense of community, that stays, because I think it's possible to make that permanent. Other cities are extending the time that their outdoor piazzas, can continue to function. I think we should do that, and I think we should figure out how to make it permanent. And even everybody's been creative, including like the volunteers that run the Fullerton Museum Center. If you don't know, tonight is the first reopening event for the museum beer garden. The museum partnered with Dina David of Vino Nostra to bring back a dinner program there at the beer garden tonight. That's from 5 to I think 7:30 or 8. And there's tickets available online if you haven't gotten them yet.
Oh, that's great. Which kind of leads me to another elephant in the room, and that is the budget cuts that the city has had to make. I know that they're without the sales tax revenues and other measures that fund the city. We've had to diminish some programs, including the Fullerton Museum Center. But tell us a little bit, give us some highlights of the financial conditions of the city of Fullerton.
Yeah, highlights or lowlights, depending on how you look at it. I mean, the city is in a tough financial position now, and it's not something that has come on quickly. I mean, we have seen over the past 30 years city budget deficits and surpluses depending on how the economy is going. We had already before COVID cut over 230 full-time positions in this city since 1991. And we had already restructured department budgets, reducing those department budgets significantly. My past 8 years on this council really has been looking for areas to cut. And we have found a lot of them and have done those radical cuts. In fact, a lot too much. For the past few years, we've been operating on a vacancy rate of almost 20%. So even of the employees that we budget for, we don't hire almost 20% of them in order to maintain a balanced budget. And there may not be a lot of sympathy for public employees. I get that. But public employees are the ones delivering the services. And so that is what really has suffered. As soon as COVID hit, we fired all 153 part-time employees who were providing Parks and Rec services, after school programs, museum. We've been able, with CARES Act funding, to hire some of them back for COVID specific jobs, but those funds run out at the end of this year. So we have asked all of our employee groups to come to the table and take a 5% pay cut or make other reductions. Almost all of them did that when we asked. In fact, the police department offered cuts before we even asked for them to do so. And we should be operating at about 165 police officers right now. We're down to 111 police officers in a town of over 140. So we've taken serious looks, including independent audits that have come in to audit the performance of our Public Works Department and our Parks and Rec Department to make sure that the money that the taxpayers have entrusted to us, we're spending well. And having sat on the dais for the past 8 years, I'm confident in saying that we spend our money very conservatively. We spend your money conservatively, and we spend it very well. I just don't think that a lot of people in town realize the disadvantage that Fullerton is at because of how conservative financially we are. Almost every other city around us in North Orange County has added taxes and fees that Fullerton doesn't have. Yorba Linda, Placentia, Buena Park, La Habra, they all either have extra sales taxes that 100% of which stay in their community, or they have special finance district funding, fees from certain areas in town, or other property tax things that heighten their property tax, and that funding stays in their local community. I'll tell you, for instance, in the city of Orange, that is the same size as we are, our sales tax annually is about $21 million in Fullerton, a same size city with a much larger retail and commercial base. Orange, their sales tax is double what ours is. The city of Buena Park is much smaller than we are. Our sales, and they have a vibrant sales tax base through their auto mall. Their sales tax is the same as Fullerton's. So we really are at a disadvantage because you know, we have not raised local revenue through those special fees and taxes, but have been cutting our way down as low as we can to provide services.
So in addition to sales tax, the city has other sources of revenue. Mm-hmm. And I know that one of the questions that was asked today is Fullerton receiving its fair share from the California gas tax that was recently passed, and, you know, measure SB1, and how is that being used here in the city of Fullerton?
So that's a great question. Let me answer the, if you don't mind, let me answer the first part about what other taxes and revenues we have. We get property tax. That's our main source of revenue here in town. And then sales tax is the second largest revenue source. But I think it's important for people to understand that of every dollar you pay in property tax, only 16 cents of that dollar stays here in Fullerton. The majority of it go to our schools and the state general fund. And then of your sales tax, of the 7.75% we pay here in Fullerton, only 1% stays here in town. Everything else goes to the state.
Is that typical of communities across the state?
Well, communities, cities in different counties have different portions that stay in their county, but yes, the vast majority of base sales tax and property tax go to the state and to the schools. So you know, and then you add on the gas tax. That's another area of funding for the city. And of all the gas tax you pay, we keep a whopping nickel here in the city. And with the SB1 passage of the gas tax, that added a little bit to this city last year, 2.6 million. And it is the fairest formula of gas tax that cities have gotten. However, consider this: the county of Orange has 300 miles of roads, streets, bridges that are in unincorporated areas, so under their purview. They got close to $66 million in 1 year for that infrastructure. Our city has the same number of road miles, about 300. We got 2.6 million. So I think all of us can answer whether or not, that was fair. Unfortunately, in this state, it really seems like cities are on their own. And we have to take charge of our local destiny here. And you all know there's a sales tax on the ballot. I'm a supporter of it. It's not a natural place for me to be. But I am one who believes that taxes and fees should be fair and reasonable. And I think the sales tax that's on Fullerton's ballot is both fair and reasonable. It adds 1.25% to our local sales tax. All of that, 100% stays here in Fullerton. And the Fullerton City Council before and separately, it placed this sales tax measure on the ballot, adopted a council policy through ordinance that says that any new revenue our city gets in property tax or in sales tax, at least 50% of those funds have to go to infrastructure. And that ordinance can only be undone by a supermajority of the city council. So that is in recognition of our huge infrastructure need that we have. We have the worst roads scientifically in the entire county, as we all know, because we all drive them. And while I have worked extremely hard to get more miles of roads repaved and repaired in my 8 years, there is still no general fund money to do that. We've creatively taken any surplus property that the city has and tried to put it on the market and sell it and put that money into infrastructure and into road repair. We've been able to do that with some success, but those are one-time funds. And the cost per mile of road repair is very expensive, in the millions. So we need to figure out a way to fix our roads. And because of the commitments that we have and the lean way that we run our city, there's no other way to do it except to add revenue that I've found. If you find another way, then God bless you and your ministry.
Well, I know one way to, it's kind of a double-edged sword, is attracting new businesses to our community that can bring revenue sources. So can you give a quick recap? And nothing is quick, I know, so I'm asking you to do things quickly that need hours of explanation. But what is the city doing to attract and retain its businesses so that we have a vital business community?
Yep, and you all know that economic development is as important to me as it is to you. But I will tell you that it would take us building 30 Walmarts in this city to have the same impact that this small raise in our sales tax would have. So we can't develop our local economy enough to fix the problems that we have in this city. However, we have to continue to develop our local economic community to be able to maintain what it is that we have now. And we have, I think, two of the most significant actions that, one of the significant actions that the City Council has taken was to make sure that the Beckman Coulter site was preserved for commercial and industrial development. The City Council is going to get the opportunity to make that decision again when Goodman brings its proposal to the City Council, hopefully this fall.
And Goodman is going in where Kimberly Clark was.
To retain the Kimberly Clark campus for industrial commercial. It'll add over 1 million square feet of commercial and industrial to our commercial base. We're one of the first communities in Southern California to get an Amazon grocery store that's modeled after Whole Foods, and that's going in South Fullerton. And with this business assistance team that Kelly Fritzall has created, we are actively doing more to support and enhance our business community than I think we ever have since I've been on council.
Oh, that's great, Jennifer. Another question I have here is, given that it's 2020, what do you feel are the biggest priorities for the Fullerton community, and how can individual companies best support the initiatives for those priorities? Pretty open-ended.
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, 2020 is an insane anomaly. I hope it's an anomaly. And we're all kind of in survival mode right now. And I think the best thing that each of us can do is to focus on our consumers, on our customers, and see how we can pivot to meet the needs and the demands of 2020. That is what we're doing. Even though we're not a business, that's what we're doing at the city level. And I've heard many stories from your members that they're doing the same thing. We've all had to be as extremely, as creative as possible and change our business models even numerous times in order to succeed. And that's the kind of flexibility that 2020 requires.
How is the city tracking if they are businesses' success or their closures in this pandemic time? Is it possible really to kind of monitor until they renew their business license?
That's going to be the best indicator in how many business licenses we have, taken out next year. But we are actively communicating. It's more rather than scientific metrics. I mean, ours are interpersonal communication. Like I said, our economic development team is trying to physically visit every business in our community this year. And that's more than we've ever been able to do. Forget in 1 year, I think, in a lifetime.
Yeah, it really is just a challenge. The other challenge our community has had is over the years is the homeless situation. And I know that the current economic downturn has probably exacerbated that. But I know that the city is really working with the North region, the North Orange County region, the SPA they call it, and then some other projects on its own. So can you highlight some of the initiatives and some of the programs that have been put into place this year to help with the navigation of the homeless?
Sure. Homelessness is the issue that we hear the most about in the city. So, the second is roads, or the state of our roads. So as it regards homelessness, my entire time on council, big priority has been trying to address our local homelessness needs. And just recently, 3 emergency shelters, navigation centers, we call them, have opened in North Orange County. First of all, we call them navigation centers because they're much more than emergency shelter. They're emergency shelter, yes, but they also have wraparound social services, because the goal of all of these shelters is not to just give people a hot meal, a shower, a bed, but to permanently get them off the street and get them a second chance at life. So in the cities of Placentia, Buena Park, and in Fullerton, homeless shelters have these navigation centers have opened in recent months, and it's really been an amazing effort. North Orange County has really banded together to take the bull by the horns and make sure that we're proactively keeping our communities safe and clean, and providing the homeless in our communities with a safe place to live and to try to get back on their feet. If you don't know, Fullerton's homeless shelter opened at 3535 West Commonwealth Avenue, which is right next door to the airport, and it's run by a nonprofit called the Illumination Foundation. It includes 90 navigation center beds and 60 recuperative care beds. So homeless people who get out of the hospital but need a place to recover, that's where they live for a few months while we try to help them recover and find a permanent place to live.
which is certainly very needed. So now that we're opening these shelters and their navigation centers providing a whole cadre of services for the homeless to make sure that they are up and on their feet, can now the city take steps to help those who don't want to enter one of those navigation centers?
You
Or
mean
what are the next steps
who
there?
are homeless but don't want to go to the navigation centers?
Correct. What can be done there?
Right. So there are quite a few resources throughout the county aimed at getting people off the streets. And so if there are families on the street, they don't usually go to a navigation center. We try to find them a nonprofit like Pathways of Hope, where we can plug them in. We also created a safe parking program that I initially voted against, but have subsequently supported, that is now run by Pathways of Hope. And it gives people the opportunity who are living in their cars to have a safe place to park overnight. And that gives us the opportunity to connect with them. And we've placed families in permanent housing because of that program. We wouldn't have found them any other way except through that safe parking program. So it's actually worked really well. But the other problem is that there are homeless people who refuse service. And the law in the nation is really that you cannot tell people they can't sleep on the street in your town unless you have a bed for them somewhere. And so because of the legal settlement that North Orange County has entered into on homeless matters, we now are able to and it's called enforcing your anti-camping ordinance, which we do have in town. You can't camp on public property in town, except unless we didn't have a certain number of beds available. Now we do. And so we're working desperately to get those people off the street into someplace safe. But if they just refuse service, then we're able to ask them to leave.
Which sounds harsh, but it's probably for the community's best interest. I know it's a really often, you see individuals who are homeless, but they have so many reasons for being there, and certainly we need to be sensitive to that. But now that we have the navigation centers, I think being able to enforce the anti-camping regulations is important. So I know that you have been a mentor to others on City Council. You serve on the Association of California Cities, Orange County. As you have served in your role now as mayor and not seeking another term as a City Council member, what are some of the biggest takeaways that you could share, both from the perspective of a seated and council person, but also maybe some insight to those who might be thinking about elected office in the future?
Sure. There are a lot of lessons to be learned from serving on City Council. I think the biggest thing I've learned is that there are so many good people and fantastic organizations in this town who really love our community. And I've been so blessed to be able to get to know, small nonprofits like Hoya Scholars, whose mission it is to send kids to college who live in the very eastern most part of our town that is a low income area with about 1,200 apartments. And then big groups like the Rotary Club that sponsored, a hugely successful COVID service project to deliver, tens of thousands of face masks. I think they were over like 60,000 face shields that they did before their project was ended. So that's the best thing about being on City Council. You get a first row seat to all the good being done in the community. And the flip side to that is that you hear about the bad news first. You get blamed for the bad news. You can become a target of whatever someone is upset about. So Most of the time, I feel like that comes with the territory. Unfortunately, in the culture that we live in, it seems acceptable to bully politicians. And we don't allow any other sector of our community, young or old, to be bullied. And so I do think that's a problem that just we as Americans need to get under control so that we can bring civility and discussion back. So I mean, that's kind of the, you know, the good and the bad of it. But I tell people who ask me if they should run for office, if you want to make your community better, then it's a great way to do it. Through local government, you can actually see the results of your hard work. We're getting ready to open a brand new park in Fullerton called Pearl Park. And a lot of you have heard me talk about it for the past 8 years. And it's a pocket park in that east part of Fullerton that I talked about earlier. But that wouldn't have happened if many of us hadn't pushed and pushed and pushed for that to open. So there's a lot of good things that you can actually see the results of when you serve locally.
Yeah, and I think as I've watched you over the years, and certainly as one that respects you in so many ways, to be the person who can be a convener and to be one that brings coalition to a group where you often have very differing thoughts on a local level. And, you know, there's often said all politics is local. And I think you see that nowhere more truly than you really do on a city council.
Well,
So,
yeah, good.
Go ahead.
Good people need to speak up, right? Good people need to get together and advocate for the needs of, you know, of their members, in your case, of the needs of their neighborhood. And that positive energy can really bring fantastic changes to your community.
It really is an opportunity for change. I think the other opportunity for people to get involved that I encourage, but people often forget or don't apply and don't really get as engaged as they should, is the different committees and commissions that are available, whether it is on a local level or if it's on a larger state level. Talk real high level a little bit about just some of the committees and commissions that are available in Fullerton and how people can get involved.
Sure. I encourage everyone who's listening to see how they can get more involved in city government so that your voice can be heard. The first thing you can do is enroll in one of our citizens academies. We have an online citizen academy that anyone you know who's in town can sign up for, and you'll learn so much about how each department in this city works, what the role is of each committee and commission, and how you can, you know, how you can be a part of that positive action. And then we've got a planning commission that reviews all of the development projects here in town, residential and commercial, as well as new policies like cannabis policy. And so Planning Commission is a really good group that does very substantive work. Likewise, we've got a Parks and Rec Commission. I've been really pleased to have Gretchen Cox be my Parks and Rec Commissioner for many years. And she has been able to not only you know, oversee and supervise different parks programs, but help decide how sports fields in this town are allocated. You and I we pay for those sports fields. And so who gets to use them and how much do they pay and what's that decision process? So that Parks and Rec Commission is really important. And then we've got super important Infrastructure and Natural Resources Advisory Committee that are actually the group of citizens that did a complete financial analysis of the city as it relates to our infrastructure needs and recommended additional revenue needs to come into the city in order to adequately maintain and improve our infrastructure. And they debated a lot of things like a parcel tax or a sales tax. And they disagreed on exactly what that sales tax proposal should look like. But it's because of their work really that that the city council voted to put this local sales tax measure on the ballot.
Wow. So the other thing that I see people are really interested in is any new developments in town. You mentioned earlier the Amazon grocery market that's going in South Fullerton on Harbor Boulevard. I was reading yesterday that they have no opening date in mind, but I know that there's other new development going on in Fullerton. Can you highlight some of those projects that we might see moving forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the Goodman property, which is the former Kimberly Clark property, I think I'm most excited about that commercial development that's going to hopefully come to town soon. We're not in the middle we are at the end of the new Amplify apartments, the end of the development of the new Amplify apartments that are going to add really nice apartments to Commonwealth, where Malahi Chevrolet used to be. And we're also getting ready to finish construction on homes in the Richmond Park neighborhood. And then recently the city council put 4 properties. Basically, we noticed the state of California that we have 4 properties that we're looking to sell, and it's called putting them on the surplus property list. The state says that anything on the surplus property list, first right of refusal goes to affordable housing, and then we talk with our schools and other public agencies about use of them. And hopefully are able to bring some market rate housing developments to land at the water tank farm up at Lakeview and Euclid, the tree farm at Baston Cherry and Parks, the Rolling Hills property behind Beechwood School, and then 1600 West Commonwealth, which is where the city yard is. So the surplus property process is a really long one, but I hope, in future years, we'll see new developments on those lots.
Yeah, that's excellent. I know that there's that last night at City Council, the exclusive negotiating agreement, I believe that's where it was at, was
thanks.
extended
Yes.
for the potential boutique hotel down at the train station. I find that a very exciting project, and one that we can really look forward to seeing in our community and seeing our community grow and thrive. I think as a community, we forget how unique we are with both a general aviation airport and a train station, a big transportation hub with OCTA. So we really are
and a historic downtown.
And a historic downtown.
And a historic downtown.
That
perfect for a boutique hotel.
That we didn't tear down and put up another shopping center.
Right. Exactly.
So I love my community. I can tell that you love ours too. Any final words of wisdom that you would like to wrap us up with this afternoon?
Oh gosh, I don't know about wisdom, but I will once again thank all of you for all you do. And please know that in the city, you have a partner committed as well to your success. I've so much appreciated over my 8 years the support of the North Orange County Chamber of Commerce and the members of the chamber. I want you to know that those positive voices in my life these past 8 years have really sustained me and been a supreme encouragement to me. So thank you for loving the community that you're a part of. And you're right, I love it too. I can't wait to figure out how I'm going to give back to our community next. And I'll look forward to staying active with all of you.
That's great, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you do. And thank you for representing us so well and so with such thoughtfulness. We really appreciate it. So next week, we're taking a little journey westward ho, as we can think about it. We are going to have Senator Bob Archuleta as our guest on the program. He was recently elected to serve in our state Senate and serves the communities of Buena Park, which is part of our North Orange County Chamber, and then west of there up into LA County. So we're really glad to be able to expand the program. But I'm looking forward to talking in the future weeks about more things going on in the city of Fullerton, the cities of Buena Park, La Palma, and the communities that surround us. So until then, be safe, support our local businesses, go eat out this weekend, and mask up. Thank you.
Bye-bye.